Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
Delete your social media accounts.
I told Alina that I would delete my social media a week ago because I didn't think that she was going to be super intent on it. I felt like...
Yikes. So, when we first were introduced to Steven, didn't have a lot of data. We're getting more and more as time is coming, as the weeks go on. And one of the things that we're seeing now is another, I think, important data point that she asked him to delete his social media accounts. At the time, I remember thinking, or maybe even saying, I don't know if that's wise. Certainly if he's up for it, it's fine. But if it's any kind of a hardship to him, it's not usually the road to trust building. You can certainly cheat on someone not having any social media accounts, and having social media accounts like a Facebook or Instagram or something doesn't mean that you're cheating. So, presumably he uses his social media accounts for a lot of other things besides cheating on her. I don't know. So I wasn't, if I was there advising her, I'd be like, there's probably more functional roads to building trust. It might take years to build back that trust, but just telling him to delete his accounts, I don't know if that's necessarily the road you want to take. It sets a precedent of control and of limiting someone else's freedoms that is, just not a good precedent to set. It's not inherently dysfunctional, but anyway, he did agree to it. So he didn't say, oh, honey, can we talk about that? Maybe if I give you my pass, there wasn't anything. He just said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. He was reluctant, but he said yes. And now he's saying, well, I only said yes because I figured she wouldn't care later. Yikes. So you lied at the time. You said, yeah, I'll delete my accounts, fully knowing that you weren't actually going to delete your accounts. Yikes.
Maybe it was one of those things where I just me saying it would be enough. But I think now her mind is really set, this is what he has to do.
I don't know, but we're seeing signs of a pattern here that it seems, we don't know exactly what happened because we weren't there, but it seems from both of their accounts that prior to the beginning of this season, they were in a online long distance relationship. Remember, they only saw each other for a couple weeks in person, and I think they were online dating, long distance relationship dating for over a year at least. And he gave her the impression quite clearly that he wasn't dating other people. He asked to date other people, and she was under the impression that she said, no, you can't date other people because we're going to get married one day because you keep saying that. And then from what we can gather, he basically said, okay, I won't date other people, but he did date other people. He might have already been dating other people as he asked that question. But anyway, he gave this impression that he was in it to win it with her, that they were going to get married, they were going to have kids. It was a done deal. And she was like, yay, the prince and the princess, we're going to, ride off into the sunset and have our wonderful life together, while he is dating other people, meaning that he broke up with her. He broke up with Alina, but she didn't know she was broken up with. And so the way that he describes it, he's like, well, I kind of feel like I told you. I feel like I told you. Either you told her or you didn't. You either said, I'm breaking up with you, or you didn't. And he's like, well, I kind of feel like I gave you the impression that maybe you were not really exclusive with, it's this, so what is it? Is it fear of disapproval? Is it entitlement? Is it being spoiled? Is it self-centeredness? Is it immaturity? Is it fear of rejection from other people? Is it lack of consideration? I don't know, but there's really no way for me to know where that behavior generates from. Certainly immaturity could absolutely be a part of it. I mean, they're pretty young. I forget how old he is, mid-20s, I think, late 20s. It takes a long time to really grow and mature and to know your responsibilities to other people. And on average, let's say people in their 40s and 50s have progressed down that road of awareness more so than people in their 20s. certainly there are people in their 20s that are fully aware of their responsibility to others' feelings. But anyway, so we're hearing it again, that he's like, well, yeah, I told her that I was going to delete my social media accounts, but I just figured that she knew that she wasn't being serious about that. And we can imagine him in the past saying like, well, yeah, I mean, she said that we are going to get married and have kids. And yeah, she said I can't date other people, but I want to believe something else. And so I'm just going to go ahead with that.
Just to delete your accounts. Because you communicate with girlfriends.
It's very frustrating that Steven putting it off and he still doesn't even realize that I'm testing him with messages from Masha.
All right, I forgot about that. So this is her way of kind of testing, like, are you willing to give up your flirtations with other women? Now, we're not quite sure about the communication between him and Masha. Masha gave some indications of possible flirtation, but we haven't heard his side of it. But it kind of looks that way. And from the beginning with the whole Masha thing, I was like, no, don't engage in some secret testing of your boyfriend. That's really hurtful to someone. But then I wondered, well, wait, what if it works? And he, takes the bait. Does that mean that it justifies the activity? So I don't know. I'm really confused about Alina, actually, because for her, where is she at? She's at this point going, I don't know. The impression I get from her is that she's still totally in the relationship. She's just she's been shocked by some recent revelations, but I think she's just trying to mold him. But at the same time, she keeps testing him, and she is pretty sure that he's flirting with other women. Maybe she just thinks, well, boys will be boys, and they have to be controlled, or they have to be kind of managed. You have to put a fence around them to make them into the man that you want them to be. There's people that believe that, which is not a place that I recommend people come from. Everyone deserves to have someone who modifies their own life because they want to be with someone. Like my wife didn't have to tell me to, cut off certain things with other people. I just wanted to do that, and her for me. I didn't have to tell my wife stop doing X, Y, and Z. She just stopped doing X, Y, and Z because she knew that, or she intuited anyway, that would be that's what I wanted. That's what would make me feel more secure. So it kind of looks like that's where she's at, because that would be a different approach, right? Instead of you're going to get rid of your social media accounts because I don't want you flirting with other women, instead of stop flirting with other women. Like, I don't care if you're on social media or not. Can you just please be dedicated to me only? Can you please stop cheating on me? Can you please stop flirting with other people? Now, she can't trust him if he said, no, absolutely, I'll stop flirting with other. I haven't flirted. We wouldn't trust him, right? And so she resorts to this, but it's not a good foundation of a relationship, right? That I have to put fences around you because you on your own can't modify your own behavior in consideration of my feelings.
If he sent her any other messages and doesn't delete his social media, I definitely will find out.
If you don't delete your accounts, I'm not sure if I can stay here, if I can trust you.
Yeah, I get that. At the same time, I wonder how she could trust him at all, even if he did delete his accounts. How do you know what's in his mind? How do you know what he's saying is truthful and real? Presumably, after Turkey, he's going to go back to the States, and she's going to go back to Russia. Russia, right? How do we know that he's not going to date other people when he goes back to the States? I mean, there's just no way to know, given the precedent that he's set.
Prove that you love me.
Okay. And after I do it, I hope that you can feel like you'll trust me and that we can move forward with, hopefully a marriage.
And if that is his true intention, then deleting his social media accounts would definitely show that he was serious about, or at least be one tick in the column that he's serious. And if he truly is wanting to marry her, it's a small price to pay, right? You're just like, oh, this is a bummer. I have to delete my social media or, turn them off temporarily. And it's like, but look what I gain. I gain the trust of my, girlfriend that I desperately want. So, it's a pretty small price to pay for seemingly a pretty big payoff. So I guess it is a good ultimatum. It, really kind of shows, because if he's not willing to do this or he doesn't do it, then, it says something.
Do you still feel like you want to marry me?
I don't know. It depends on your actions.
If Stephen were to propose to you today, what would you say?
I don't know.
So when she responds this way, it kind of tells me two things. One is that I think she's totally in love with him and smitten by him. Like first love, maybe, given her age, given what she said about her past relationship. Or has she said anything about it? Anyway, so that's fine. People sometimes fall in love with the first person they fall in love with, they spend the rest of their life with. My sister is married to her high school sweetheart. My parents are high school sweethearts. My parents met when they were, 16 or something in Spokane, Washington, and they're married almost 60 years. It'll be 60. They'll be married 58 years, 58 plus years. Wow. So, it happens. But I think it's just interesting. It's notable. It's, it doesn't say good or bad. It's just like, well, it does affect things, right? Because our first loves, we tend to be a little bit more irrational about, a little bit more self-destructive around, a little bit less able to evaluate with a differentiated mind. I don't know if that's what we're seeing. But anyway, so those are the two things I'm seeing. Is one is, I think what she wants to say is, if he proposes to me, yes, because I want to be with him. I think that, but she's holding back because she's like, but I don't think I'm supposed to say that because of what he did, and I am legitimately still kind of worried about that. But it's because for a while now, I feel like Stephen, we've developed some hypotheses around. We're starting to get an idea of his personality and his. Well, I can't even really say that. At least his pattern, his behavioral pattern, we're starting to see. I don't have a grasp on where it comes from. But with Alina, she's been mainly reactive, mainly kind of like reacting to what's happening. And I don't really know where she's coming from, but I think it's notable because it's easy to look at these two and say like, oh, Alina, just leave him. It's like, just cut your losses. When you're in love, you're in love. Like, there's not a lot you can do. And if it's your first love and it's intense, or at least one of your first loves, there's not a lot you can do. You're just like, all of the fiber of my being is oriented towards this person. And I think that's what we're seeing. Let's rewind this.
If Stephen were to propose to you today, what would you say?
I don't know.
It all depends on him to prove me that he's serious.
Okay, so that seemed more differentiated of a response of, okay, he needs to prove to me that he's serious. So maybe she has a rational mind, logical mind that can evaluate the situation in a more, level-headed way. But I wonder if her mom wasn't there influencing her, if she would be less, hesitant. I think she, on one hand, is like, well, what would my mom say? Which might be a really helpful voice for her. But anyway, I just think it's notable. Sometimes I think when we watch these shows, it's easy to just be like, and even if it's a friend of yours, and if you're a therapist and you have a client, it's so easy to just say, just leave. Just cut your losses. What are you doing with this person? Just, there's other fish in the sea. When we're in love, when we're attached, when we have like said you are the one, and all of your body and soul is like yes, but your mind is like, well, I don't know. There's not a lot you can do. It's sometimes just has to play itself out.
That will help me to feel more confident in you.
That's pretty fair, and I love you, and I'm really grateful that I could find someone as amazing as you.
So on one hand, okay, good, but how do we trust him at this point as viewers? How can she trust him? There's so many indications that he doesn't always mean what he says. There's been multiple instances, historical and on the show, that show that he's prone to saying things that he thinks people want to hear, but he feels like, well, they'll get over it. I'll do this other thing instead. So how can she trust him at this point? All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.